Karen Esterhammer is a writer and author, and her travel pieces have been published in the Chicago Tribune, Los Angeles Times, Baltimore Sun, and others. She has also had essays published in the Chocolate for a Woman's Soul series, and she once won the grand prize in a romance essay contest for Harlequin Books. Tonight, Karen is here to present her memoir about living in Vietnam. So happiness to meet you. Please join me in welcoming Karen Esterhammer.
Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. In July 2008, I was jolted awake from the American dream when, after 15 years, I lost my job at the Los Angeles Times in a massive layoff of nearly half the staff. My husband's home business was tanking in the recession, and like most Americans, we had car loans and a mortgage as big as the GDP of most small countries. This was no time for clear thinking or careful planning. I arranged for us to sell nearly everything we owned and throw the rest in a bag and move with our 8-year-old son to a significantly cheaper place on the planet, Vietnam. Low cost, high adventure, a lemonade from lemons sort of decision. I figured we could live frugally and ride out the recession. Vietnam had a lot of jobs for Westerners, teaching English. The global economic meltdown wouldn't touch us in Vietnam, except it did. Within a few months, unexpected financial calamities piled up. In California, the tenants in our house broke their lease and ran off, and the house sat empty for months. And then 2 freak plumbing disasters cost about $12,000 to repair. Pretty soon, we couldn't afford to go home. Something unforeseen happened, though. We were only too happy to be suddenly stranded in Vietnam. Our neighbors were becoming like family on our alley and in one of Ho Chi Minh's poorer neighborhoods. After listening to my neighbors' post-war stories of real deprivation, I saw that my own losses were nothing more than wholesome downsizing. They taught me to stop and smell the roses without whining about the aphids that got stuck up my nostrils. My story is a tribute to how Vietnam changed me. I discovered what I've been lacking all my life, a sense of community, supportive and intimate friendships, and the ability to live joyfully in the present. I started to feel content, even grateful for what I had. After 2.5 years, we could afford to go home, but you'll have to read the book to find out how. So when you search for pictures of Germany on Google, and I know that's the wrong country, but you'll see why in a minute, you get these beautiful images of Germany. No Nazis, no wartime stories. When you search for pictures of Vietnam, out of most of those photos, a few of them the landscape, but the rest are the war. It's been 42 years, and we're still glommed onto the war. When I started writing this book, a friend of mine in Vietnam said, "Please don't write about the war. We have a whole culture here and interesting sights," and so I said, "No, that's not my intention." And then we lived in Ho Chi Minh City, which is the largest city in the country. We landed in a city of 12 million people and about 5 million motorbikes. They have some cars and some taxis, but it's mostly motorbikes, and there's really no other room for cars anyway. So this is what it's like riding at nighttime. And it's great fun. Everybody goes out at night because it's a little bit cooler and it's just something to do that's cheap and fun to get out of the house. So we needed to find a place to live. This was our alley. There's Kai, and this is the front of our door. And you can see how skinny the houses are. Each one of these openings is another house. Ours was 9 feet wide. Some people, in order to have more, actually rent out the other half, will divide that in half, and it's only 4.5 feet wide. The alleys are also very, very narrow. You can't get cars down them. People park their motorbikes in front of their houses in the daytime. So we had this tiny little narrow house, and it was 4 floors. There was 1 room on each floor. Right back here, right behind this little curtain, is a toilet. And the stairs were only 18 inches wide. Robin, my husband, who's 6'4" and 250 pounds, barely got up the stairs. He had to turn himself to get up the stairs. And so this shows the little narrow living room. Kai's playing. It's the living room, dining room, kitchen all in one. From one of the balconies, you can see below, again, how the small doors and how narrow the places are. The alley's very narrow, the balconies practically touch. So you gotta like people, because they're right there in your face. Right here, this woman, in the book I called her Hatchet Lady. She had a hatchet, and every morning she pulled out all the pork. She rented this little spot for $1 a day, and then sold pork every day, nonstop. Never took a break, every day, the whole 2.5 years we were there. It was pretty hard to imagine how they could fix your cable and your telephone wires when they all look like that. But electricity was off, iffy. Every day, every Friday it went off for the whole day. Now the country is 98 degrees and 99% humidity all the time. And without a fan, boy, those days were really, really hard. The other lovely thing about living on these little alleys is the Saigon River would back up, and we would every night during the rainy season, which is about 8 months out of the year, would have floods in our alley. So it made it really hard to get out in the evening without just completely getting wet. It was pouring down rain, and there was a mom who put shampoo in the kids' hair, and they would just wash it in the rain and rinse, and it was just really sweet. But normally it's full of dog dew and baby dew and everything. It's just filthy water, and it's very smelly too. You know, you just hear everything. There's constant construction and karaoke all the time, even at 1 in the morning, when they just like want to throw something out the window. Kai had gone to a school run by Buddhist monks for a short time, and then the little baby that I'm holding is a neighbor baby that I used to babysit a lot when the mom needed an arm break. There aren't strollers there, so the neighbors all take care of babies and take turns holding babies, which I could do forever, so it made me happy. These are my dear friends. They're the stars of the book. Den on the left, and his cousin Homie. Robin, he's being fed by Den and Homie. My daughters came at Christmas time, and they really enjoyed the motorbike riding. It really is one of the most fun things to do there. We ate at a restaurant, and we actually found a little tiny Christmas tree so they could celebrate Christmas. Now, I spent 2 days a week for the whole 2.5 years playing with babies at orphanage. A couple orphanages, but one in particular. There are so many, and they need holding, and that's just what you do is go, you can change their little diapers, feed them and hold them, and you know, there's never enough arms for them, so I was grateful to have that experience. Because they don't have a whole lot of caregivers, they just put on anything, and you really have to open the diaper up to find out if it's a boy or a girl. So these were little boys, I found out, even though they look pretty in pink. And the babies just hold on for dear life, and oh goodness, when you put them back down in their bed, they just cry so mournfully. This one on the right is for older children, and their bunk beds just have bamboo mats. So real hard as a rock, and they don't have a lot of possessions. So it's quite heartbreaking. Now when I search photos of Vietnam and I think back to what I remember, this is what I see. These are images of my Vietnam, which are happy and wonderful. It was an unbelievable experience. I learned to live with less, to be grateful for what I had, and made friends that I know are just lifetime friends. We're just really happy about that. All right, so I put the kittens here because kittens sell. You know, there'll be 1.3 million hits on YouTube for kittens getting a flea bath, but so I figure, hey, I'll put them on because anyway. Thank you very much for your attention, and if you guys have questions.
Oh, that's great.
No, the water's not safe, so we had bottled water. And we had some small air conditioners upstairs, but in the living room where we were mostly, there was no air. We just had fans running. And I swear, you take 3 showers a day and you're still sticky and hot. And that was the only really difficult, just physically difficult all the time. And so, and yeah, the water, we had no hot water. So, but it came out hot because it was just hot. Yeah.
Have any of your Vietnamese friends that you met visited you guys?
One homie has come. Yeah, actually he found a job in Maine for a couple of years to work at a restaurant. So he flew into LA and stayed with us. And it, you know, in Vietnam, you don't wait for lights, you just cross the street whenever you want. So he started to do that and nearly got himself killed. We had to pull him back up onto the cement. So, and you know, and he was so excited to see Americans, because we lived in a little area where there were no Westerners. We were the first white people in the neighborhood.
Wow.
And he was just so excited to see all these Americans, and he'd say hello to everybody. Hello, hello, hello. So he had a wonderful time here, but now he's back in Vietnam. Yeah.
It's not really a question, I just wanted you to talk a little bit because I've read the book.
Okay.
About the adjustment to the privacy issues from our way of.
Yeah, I've always been a real private person. I like to keep the fence high and the curtain closed and that kind of thing. So adjusting was really tough, but it's just so much love and interest. You know, I would come home with a bag full of groceries and they'd look in my bag, just stand, they'd all run up to me and start digging through my bag. What's she cooking tonight? and I just, you know, said, gee, I want to know more about them, so let them know about me. It's okay. You know, every house was like a garage door, so it opened totally. So nobody had doors. You just really walk into people's houses. And our neighbors were concerned that they might steal from us, so they said, keep your doors closed. And nobody could figure out our doorbell, because why would you have a doorbell? I mean, you don't just walk in, right? And so instead of knocking or ringing the doorbell, they just plaster their face and look through the window until we happen to see them. I don't know how long they've been there. But yeah, just, you know, just, of course we could lock them out, but for the most part during the day, I loved it. It was heaven. Thank you.